The story of this book, Medical Ethics at the Dawn of the 21st Century, started in 1994. I was a fellow at the Van Leer Jerusalem Institute, and I came to the president of the institute at that time, Professor Nehemiah Lev Zion, and I suggested to establish a think tank in medical ethics, something that Van Leer never done before. And I proposed to him that I'm going to recruit about 15 scholars, more senior, younger, from different disciplines: medicine, law, philosophy, social work, political science, sociology, psychiatry, any field around the patient's bed. And I also pledged that I'm going to raise the money to organize international conference and to publish at least one book that will be the result of our work. Nehemiah said yes, he agreed. So at 1995, I opened the group. We had what I call the Magnificent 16 leading scholars in Israel, the best of the crop. And we used to meet once a month on the third week of Friday from 9 o'clock until about 1 and study the papers that we wrote. So each and every week, one of us presented a paper and all of us commented on the paper. We received the papers beforehand. So when we came to the meeting, we already knew what the paper is all about. So I allowed the speaker to speak for 5-10 minutes at most. And then there was about 3-4 hours discussion revolving around the paper. And we've done this storm thinking for more than 2 years. There were some breaks for holidays and so on. And then I pledged also that I'm going to organize an international conference and I'm going to raise the money for that. So I approached the Ministry of Science, the Israeli Ministry of Science, and wrote an application form and submitted it. And we won it. We won this big grant that facilitated the majority of the expenses. I later met the Director General of the ministry. He came to Van Leer, wanted to meet with me. And he wanted to meet with me because he told me that it's the first time in the history of the ministry that they gave this conference funding not to pure science. Medical ethics is not pure science. So that was quite a compliment. And with the ministry assistance, I was able to assemble in Van Leer quite a distinguished group of scholars from all over the world who came to participate in this international conference. It took place in 1998. And the book, Medical Ethics at the Dawn of the 21st Century, assembles some of the papers that were presented during the conference. And I would like to highlight some of these papers, just to give you a taste of what's in it. The former Vice Chancellor of Concordia University in Canada, in Montreal, Fred Lowy, he wrote about the ethical professor of medicine challenges for the 21st century. Certainly a paper that is very relevant also today. John Lantis gave a paper on medicine as in the literature. So in his lecture, in his paper, he reflected on A.B. Yoshua Open Heart. In Hebrew, it's known as the Shiva from India. Antonella Sarbonne, she wrote an interesting chapter about truth telling, on this obligation of physician to tell the truth to patients, always. An interesting chapter by Rebecca Cook from Toronto developments in abortion laws, comparative and international perspective. And then the following chapter by her husband, Bernard Dickens, about the continuing conflict between sanctity of life and quality of life, from abortion to medically assisted death. Tom Buchan from Georgetown wrote a paper on the autonomy turn in physician-assisted suicide. And my own paper is also on the same subject of physician-assisted suicide, circumscribed plea for voluntary physician-assisted suicide. Jan Jordan from Germany, he reflected on Peter Singer's theories and how they were received in Germany. As you know, Peter Singer is quite controversial as is, especially in Germany, given the legacy of Germany. Govert den Hartog from Netherlands, he wrote about euthanasia, reflections on the Dutch discussion. Justice Dyla Dorner, Justice of the Israeli Supreme Court, who delivered the keynote lecture, she wrote about jurisprudence in the age of biotechnology and Israeli case analysis. John Robertson from Texas, he wrote on reproductive liberty and the right to clone human beings. Very interesting paper. John Harris from Manchester also wrote on the same topic, Clones, Genes, and Reproductive Autonomy, the Ethics of Human Cloning. Joanne McKeever Gibson, she wrote on genetic research, conversations across culture. Bob Trug from Harvard, he wrote on organ transplantation without brain death. And Danny Elliott on genetic testing, organ transplantation, and an end to non-directive counseling. So this is a very interesting collection of essays that address some of the most important topics in medical ethics. Highly recommended. Happy reading. Thank you.